382 people were murdered in New York City alone last year, not even included in the state. And of those, the only people that New York State believes is a terrorist is Luigi Mangione. How is that possible? Let me educate you on why 5 reasons Luigi Mangione is not a terrorist. Now I'm going to get on a temporary soapbox here for a minute and say that after September 11th, the United States government issued in unprecedented law enforcement tactics under the guise of fighting terrorism. We did horrendous things in this country that we will probably never fully undo, and it should have been stopped a long time ago, and it's only getting worse. Hopefully, we could someday see some kind of change in what we're doing, which is basically labeling every crime that we want to go after with heavier law enforcement tactics to call it an act of terrorism. So now we have domestic terrorism, we have eco-terrorism, anything that you want, you just add on the word terrorism, and now you can fight it with unprecedented powers and get and prosecute people at a level that you've never been able to do so before because they're a terrorist. This happens to Luigi Mangione in the case of New York, where for some reason, out of the 382 people murdered in New York City alone, the state of New York will argue that Luigi Mangione is the only one that rises to the level of being a terrorist. Why is he a terrorist? The reasons are so numerous, but the point being is that Luigi Mangione is not any different than all those individuals. And so to say, for example, that Luigi Mangione is some kind of special person and a terrorist is an overstep, and it's insulting. It's insulting to the 382 other families of people who were affected by murders last year in New York City alone. Number 4, let's not remember that Brian Thompson is not the freaking president of the United States. This is not a terrorist act against some kind of government official. Brian Thompson was a CEO of a health insurance company. He is not a government official. And as much as we know that we want to blur the lines between government and big business, Brian Thompson is nothing special. And again, to treat him as such, to act like the shooting of Brian Thompson somehow is an act of terrorism because of who he is, sends a horrible message in America. Brian Thompson is just another man at the end of the day. And you can add on all those extra little writers like he's a husband estranged from his wife and father of grown adults. And you can use all those things to try to aggravate this circumstance. And that's what the government's trying to do in the federal cases, have aggravating circumstances, trying to find every reason they can to make Luigi Mangione's alleged crimes, and we'll get to that in point number 1, his alleged crimes, rise to the level of terrorism. There is nothing fundamentally different between what Luigi Mangione allegedly did in New York City and 382 other murders in New York City alone last year. Let's again not forget, Brian Thompson is not a government official. Number 3, United Healthcare and United Health Group is not a government entity. That's another problem we have in this whole scenario. They are trying to elevate this idea that Luigi Mangione went after an industry tied to the government, trying to make effects in policy, in government policy. Let us not forget, this company, United Healthcare and United Health Group that owns it, the parent company, they are not the government. They're not owned by the government. And while they manage one of the largest government employed programs in America for healthcare, the Medicaid system or Medicare system, the point being is that they themselves are not government. They're a private company making money for private citizens. They're private shareholders. And while Trump is rushing in to try to save their stock prices and freaking major billionaires are investing, trying to get the stock prices back up for their shareholders, at the end of the day, there's supposed to be a separation between big business in our country and the government. If not, you are bordering on, I don't even want to say the word because it sounds too conspiratorial, but when big business owns your country, that's called something. That's a form of government that's not a republic or a democratic republic. It's a completely different type of government. Look it up if you don't know what it means when corporations own your country. And that's where we're at right now. So if you are going to continue to insist, state of New York, for example, that Luigi Mangione is somehow attacking the government because this industry is so important to the government, then we have become that other form of government and we're not a republic. So if I have to educate people on that, I will. Let's just put that aside. United Healthcare is not the government. Number 2 is that Luigi Mangione if he's the shooter, let's not forget the if he's the shooter part, Luigi Mangione supposedly put other people's lives in grave danger by doing a shooting on a busy New York street with other people around. He could have hurt innocent people. Therefore, that's an act of terrorism in your mind. And once again, I will remind you, people get shot on New York streets all the time. 382 murders last year. I'm sure innocent people were sitting around. In fact, innocent people get hit every single year by stray gunfire. We don't call those people terrorists. But you want to rise this Luigi Mangione's alleged shooting of Brian Thompson at point blank range on a street at 6:40 in the morning when people weren't around that much and there wasn't anybody in the distance between the line of sight between the shooter and Brian Thompson, and say, oh my God, he put everyone's lives in danger. Complete disregard for people's safety. Really? Does that really rise to you to the level of any other, the 382 murders committed in New York City last year? I bet it doesn't. But you want us to believe that somehow it was something special, that this brazen attack was a danger to the entire public. Every single time law enforcement officers, by the way, engage in gunfire with the bad guy in the streets of New York, they're putting innocent people's lives in danger. Do they get branded as terrorists because they willfully fired back, for example, at a fleeing criminal or a criminal firing at them? They exchange gunfire right in the streets where people's cars can get hit, bullets can go into houses. That kind of stuff happens all the time in this country, everywhere. Do we call those people terrorists? No. So again, you selectively choosing when you say it's terrorism because somebody could have got hit by a stray bullet. And by the way, let's not forget, the shooter of Brian Thompson didn't miss. None of the bullets missed the Brian Thompson. Nobody actually got hit. And while you want to say reckless endangerment, one could argue that the shooter picked that time of day because there was less people on the street. One could argue the shooter picked shooting point blank range to avoid the risk of other people. One could even argue, if Luigi Mangione really did write this notes about his thoughts about the healthcare system, specifically told you that he didn't respect people like Ted Kaczynski, who injured innocent people because that made him a monster. If those are Luigi Mangione's writings that are attributed to him in that illegal arrest in Pennsylvania, let's not go there. That arrest was illegal and you all know it. But let's pretend, because I know you're going to, federal government and state of New York, you're going to pretend that was totally illegal arrest, and it wasn't. That was an illegal arrest, but you're going to pretend like it was, and you're going to tell everybody in America that it was, and you're going to get away with that shit because we have an abusive, out of control legal system in this country. But after you've made everybody forget that was an illegal arrest and you use it, you're going to tell people that his manifesto said he was going to do these things. And in that manifesto, good Lord, a manifesto, it was not. Luigi Mangione didn't intend for those writings to be put on every single street paper across America, nor did he intend everybody to hear what his thoughts were. That was private notes that you made public and then told everybody Luigi Mangione wrote it as a manifesto. It didn't become a manifesto until you put it out in the public and told everybody what he was doing and why. That's when it became a manifesto. But anyways, the point being is that Luigi Mangione, if he wrote those writings you're saying he wrote, you said he wrote them. He also made clear that he did not want to put innocent lives in danger. And yet you will tell America in your aggravating circumstances, or if you're the state and you're raising it to the level of terrorism, that Luigi Mangione gravely put people's lives in danger because he shot somebody on the downtown street where anyone could have got hit. And you know that's asinine, and you're using it out of context because you're treating Luigi Mangione like he's special. And last but not least, let's not forget the number one reason why Luigi Mangione is not a terrorist. He has the presumption of innocence until proven guilty in a court of law. You in America, a large part, mainstream media and law enforcement have already branded Luigi Mangione as the killer. You have already had Pam Bondi, the U.S. Attorney General in the United States, go on national TV on every platform she could and said, if anyone deserves to be executed in this country, it's Luigi Mangione for shooting a CEO. For God's sake, a CEO. What message are you sending, America? If you think that a CEO is more important than a child who's struck in New York by a bullet, you didn't go after the guy that shot that child as a terrorist. So why Luigi Mangione? Why is a CEO so important to you that this man rises to the level of a terrorist? And let's not forget, again, Luigi Mangione has the presumption of innocence until proven guilty in a court of law. So yes, I understand that charging him is one thing, but continually telling America that this man is a terrorist, getting the narrative out there, terrorist, 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 every single day, when he should have the presumption of innocence until proven guilty. Let the man have his day in court. Let him have his day in court. But you want to make sure everyone in America has already labeled Luigi Mangione as a terrorist before he ever steps into the courtroom, and you're doing a really good job at it. So people like me will have to come out every once in a while and say, let me remind you, Luigi Mangione has the presumption of innocence until proven guilty in the court of law. I'm so sorry. That's the way our legal system is supposed to work, and you don't believe in it, but that's the way it's supposed to work. And by the way, it may come out at the end of the day that all the terrorism charges get dropped because Karen Agnifilo is going to argue there is no terrorism here. And I would argue there's no terrorism here. The only reason it raises to the level of terrorism is because after September 11th, we labeled everything in this country that we want to go after with exceptional, vigorous enthusiasm as an act of terrorism. Luigi Mangione is no more of a terrorist than anyone else that shot 382 or killed 382 people in New York City last year. Nothing makes him special in that regards. At the final thought, I do want to say this. I do not condone vigilante justice. I'm not saying if Luigi did it, if Luigi Mangione shot Brian Thompson, that this is an acceptable form of protest or action or whatever the case may be. My whole entire point on this is we need to protect people's civil liberties. Luigi Mangione's civil liberties have been violated at least 4 times already. Karen Agnifilo has pointed out the illegal listening in on attorney-client privilege calls by the U.S. District Attorney's Office. They've spied on things. They've illegally violated HIPAA violation to get medical records of Luigi Mangione, lying about a subpoena that didn't exist, threatening Aetna with contempt of court and possible jail time if they didn't comply by sending them private HIPAA-related information. The government continues to do illegal shit, breaking laws left and right because they're going after a terrorist, and they think that they are somehow entitled to do whatever the fuck they want with this man because he's such a horrible person. And again, I would argue at the end of the day, there's nothing different than Luigi Mangione and any of the other 382 murderers out there from last year in New York City. So why is this man considered a terrorist? So one more time, not condoning vigilante justice, not saying that what happened to Brian Thompson was good, right, and holy and just and any shit like that. But what I am saying is stop with the narrative. This is not an act of terrorism. You know damn well it's not an act of terrorism. Trying Luigi Mangione as a terrorist is an overshoot. Prosecuting him 2 different ways in 2 different jurisdictions in the state of New York, one by the state and one of the federal government, is overcharging the man, and you know it. This entire thing, you are sending a message to America, who you want to win our sympathy. You want us to sympathize with you, and yet you are telling America over and over again that Brian Thompson is better than every other human being that died in New York City last year by treating Luigi Mangione as if he's a terrorist because Brian Thompson was so fucking important. So listen to yourselves. What you're teaching America is that you believe media who keep spinning this story. You believe prosecution who keep spinning this story. You believe every one of you who are breaking the law and his civil liberties to get him tagged as a terrorist. You are teaching America that Brian Thompson, a CEO of a private company, is more important than everyone else in this country because that man, if you kill that man, you've risen to the level of a terrorist. Think about the message you're sending. Do better.